Hey guys, welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. This is Kneon and Geeky Sparkles sitting this video out. We're going to talk about the bidding war for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is for sale. They're taking bids. We have three parties that are very, very interested. And two of them sound very, very serious. That would be Paramount / Skydance, which kicked off the bidding war. That'd be the Ellisons, and they want to add Warner Brothers to their IP collective, but, you know, they might actually do better with it. Given all the rumors that we're hearing about Star Trek, that they're going to try to course correct things, that they're trying to trim the fat over there. They do have some really good IP. They're just not utilizing it to the best of its ability, I guess. And then we're going to talk about Comcast, which, you know, we've heard about Comcast, we've heard about Universal, but yeah, it doesn't seem like they're super serious. If they are, I think they're looking at DC, and we're going to talk specifically about DC and animation and all that. But I think they're looking at DC to maybe add those characters to their theme parks, because eventually they're probably going to choose to get rid of the Marvel characters out of Universal. They also want, you know, superheroes to compete against Disney, and they don't own their own. So, you know, I mean, I could see that happening too. And then Netflix. Netflix is kind of the dark horse in this. They said for the longest time they didn't want a studio, but now they're like, yeah, we'll take Warner Brothers. Now, the interesting thing about Netflix, though, is they said if they bought Warner Brothers, they would release everything theatrically anyway. Because that was a concern people had, was Netflix will buy Warner Brothers, and if you want to watch Warner Brothers movies or shows, you're going to have to subscribe to Netflix. But I think they actually, in some way, might actually be the best custodian of Warner Brothers, because there's such a massive library of content. And they're probably looking at it too, like, man, we get all these TV shows that got yanked off the platform years ago, and you know, we get all the movies, we get the DC characters, we get, you know, Looney Tunes. Maybe they could actually, you know, bankroll some more decent Looney Tunes movies. I don't know. But we're going to talk about this. But specifically what I want to talk about is, you know, kind of how this is going to affect, you know, DC and animation. Because with Paramount, there's talk that they're getting their money from the Saudis. Because they just bought, you know, Skydance just bought Paramount. They're on the hook for that. But, you know, people are highly concerned about it because they're like, well, wait a second, guys. Wait a second. If the Saudis buy Warner Brothers, it's going to be like EA, where they might take all the gay out of our stuff. And we know over at DC Comics, every other character now is gay. Every other character is LGBTQ. Characters that were straight for decades. I got to tell you, the Tim Drake thing still pisses me off, because there was absolutely nothing in the history of Tim Drake. And I've been reading, or I was reading Batman comics very regularly up until about 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm that old. But in the 90s and the 2000s, Tim Drake, very, very straight. And all of a sudden they're like, you know what? No, he's like a total twink now. He's, you know, and it's like, no, guys, that never happened. So if the Saudis get a hold of Warner Brothers, it's going to be really interesting. There's all this talk about, you know, James Gunn getting gone. And I think there's going to be some major changes at Warner's, because I think, you know, anytime you get a huge investment like that, they're going to expect a return on their investment. And they're going to expect it quick. And that's like we talked about Ubisoft with Tencent buying them, that, you know, immediately they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to remake, you know, some of our most popular games and get some money on the books. And I could see Warner Brothers doing that too. Now, there's this wild rumor, and this is a wild rumor, but the wild rumor is if the Saudis, the Paramount, gets a hold of DC via buying Warner Brothers, that they could just get rid of the Gunverse, which has barely started, and go back to the Snyderverse. I don't know about that. I mean, maybe. I have no idea. They might just look at the box office and be like, yeah, this was the better. I don't know. But it is interesting, because I think it's going to change things. I think it's going to change things at DC Comics in particular. I don't see a future. And this is just me, and I've been talking about it for, you know, 5 or 6 years now. I think the pandemic kind of threw a wrench into things, but I don't see a future where Marvel and DC publish monthly comic books themselves in-house forever. In the case of Disney, I know for 100% certain that they've looked to offload Marvel Comics to other publishers. I had that directly from the horse's mouth from somebody at Disney Worldwide Publishing. They actually tried doing it with IDW. It did not work. And because IDW screwed it up, right? But that's why they tried doing those Marvel books over at IDW. They were trying to test the waters to see if they could trust another publisher with the Marvel characters and still get the same sales and not have to have a staff full of people in New York and whatever. And it didn't work out because IDW was just incompetent. And they're still incompetent. It's really sad. They used to be a pretty decent publisher. So eventually they're going to offload this stuff. And I know, like, you've got Jim Lee out there being like, we're never going to use AI. We're never going to do it. It's like, yeah, as long as you're there. And you might not be there very long. I could totally see whoever buys Warner Brothers being like, you know what? I'm not interested in publishing comic books. We have these characters. Let's just outsource them to Skybound. Skybound can do DC Comics. They might actually do a better job with DC Comics, right? I'm just saying. And people are like, well, Absolute Batman's selling really well. Well, yeah, but you know what? They cancel decent selling books all the time. And they're going to look at the bigger picture. I mean, it's just my opinion of what could potentially happen. So let's talk about this before we get into it any further. Please subscribe. I know we're into it pretty far. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Check out more.clownfishtv.com. That's more.clownfishtv.com. We're going to start putting more content over on more.clownfishtv.com, video, podcasts, whatever else we feel like posting, because I think YouTube is cooked. I'm going to be honest. I think for long form content, unless you're doing AI cat video shorts, definitely long form content is on the decline on YouTube. And, we still want to talk to you guys. And, if it gets to a place where it's no longer viable, we just don't do it anymore. Right. I mean, we've done a lot of things, but definitely there's something going on with YouTube. They're favoring shorts content, and shorts content isn't really worth doing for most people unless you have hundreds of millions of views a month. And even then, I know, seriously, I'm not even kidding. I know people that get 100 million views a month on shorts, and they only make a couple $1,000s a month. I'm not even kidding. That's what I think is actually behind all of this in terms of YouTube, is I think they just don't want to pay creators. So they're picking the shorts to shove in front of people because they get maximum engagement. They can charge the advertisers whatever they want to. And then, the creators don't get paid because they don't care. They're like, eventually they'll just make all the content themselves in-house. But for now, this is our life raft. Go to more.clownfishtv.com. We are firing up the forums again. You're going to try to build kind of an old school community. We'll see what happens. So anyway, let's talk about this. This comes from Axios. Paramount, Comcast, Netflix submit bids for Warner Brothers Discovery. Okay. Hollywood's biggest competition this year isn't at the box office. It's the Warner Brothers Discovery boardroom. A trio of Hollywood power players submit bids to buy all or part of Warner Brothers Discovery Thursday, launching what is sure to be a dramatic and historic media merger fight. Yeah, Warner Brothers has been passed around like a kid in Hollywood. I mean, it's been with so many different companies: Time Warner, AOL, AT&T, Discovery, and now they're just going to sell it again. They said, in a hyper-competitive streaming environment, scale matters, and assets like Warner Brothers, which include the nation's top-performing movie studio so far this year. That's true. Warner Brothers actually has done pretty well this year. And prestige streamer HBO Max don't come up for grabs often. Warner Brothers board set a Thursday deadline for takeover bids and received 3 different propositions. Okay, so this is where we are right now. Paramount, Skydance, which already owns Paramount, a major streamer, Paramount Plus, and a broadcaster, CBS, and a slew of cable networks has submitted a bid for all of Warner Brothers, including CNN and TBS. Now, I don't know if they would be able to keep the news channels too, because my understanding, and maybe the law has changed, but my understanding is you couldn't own more than one news source, one major news outlet. So the most likely scenario is if Paramount Skydance got it, they would either sell CNN, shut down CNN, or roll CNN into CBS News. And it'd be like CBSNN or something. I don't know what they would call it. all of those scenarios, because that'd be under Barry Weiss, all of those scenarios would make Donald Trump a very happy man. I'm just saying. So I could totally, because you don't realize they're going to have to get through regulatory hurdles too. So, they're going to have to sign off on this. And I could totally see Trump being like, yeah, give it to the Ellisons. I'm BFFs with them. And they'll shut down or sell off CNN or put Barry Weiss in charge of CNN too. That'd be interesting. Whatever the scenario is, he would like it very much because he hates those guys. I'm just saying. Netflix, which doesn't own a movie studio or a TV network, but has one of the largest subscription streaming bases in the world, submitted a bid solely for the streaming and studio businesses. That means they don't want the TV stuff. They don't want Discovery, I don't think. But they want the movie studio, the characters. Comcast, which owns a top movie studio in Universal, is vying solely for the streaming and studio businesses. Okay, Comcast currently owns a slew of cable networks. Yeah, MS Now and CNBC, but they're going to spin them off into a separate company, so they actually would be able to, well, they have NBC News, so they'd be able to get CNN and like roll it in or spin it off or something. So follow the money, they said. Paramount, which is currently valued at less than a third of Warner Brothers on the public markets, would need to raise money to support it. So this is where the Saudis come in. This is what the rumor is. The rumor is that the Saudis are going to go in with Paramount Skydance to buy Warner Brothers. Would they do that? Yeah, absolutely they would. Absolutely they would, because they just had a meeting with the Saudi Crown Prince, and he pledged investments of $1 trillion into the U.S. economy at the White House visit Tuesday, and Paramount CEO David Ellison was in attendance. Comcast CEO Brian Roberts traveled to Saudi Arabia. So it's looking like if they want that kind of money, the kind of money it would take to buy Warner Brothers, that the Saudis would have to get involved. Because, I mean, here's the thing. Like, America's broke, man. Like, I've been looking at this. I'm like, the Saudis are buying all of our entertainment. Now, we can argue what that means for the entertainment industry, but nobody has money, right? Like, Hollywood has burnt itself to the ground. And the Saudis have oil money they're looking to reinvest. And they just bought EA, and they went in with right-wingers. Jared Kushner, again, Trump adjacent, went in and they bought EA, and everybody's freaking the hell out. And I love watching Saltier Than Crate freak out, because they've said some very untrue things about us over the years. So they're gonna find out that if the Saudis are involved in buying Warner Brothers, the chances of Steven Universe coming back in any capacity anytime soon are slim to none. And that makes me happy. That warms my ice cold heart, because all your Tumblr cartoons from the 2010s, that will never happen again. It's already not going to happen again, but it will definitely never happen again if the Saudis are involved. And also a lot of those DC characters might magically get reverted back to their original orientations. I'm just saying. It's a possibility. Actually, what would probably happen is they would just reboot DC completely, comics and movies. But because I can't see James Gunn being as political as he reportedly is, being happy with the Saudis buying Warner Brothers. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. Superman didn't do gangbusters. It did okay, right? And it was an okay movie. We covered it. I think I'm going to be honest, in retrospect, I think I was overly harsh on it. I gave it like a 5. I think I'd maybe bump that to a 6. I think what got me was I expected a Superman movie, and Superman was a side character in his own movie. It felt like just a random issue of a comic book and not an event. Like, you just pick up a random DC comic, and this is like, oh, this is the third part of a, 4-part storyline, and you're kind of in the middle of it. And that's what it felt like to me. But the casting was great. I thought the cast was fantastic. I thought the costumes looked pretty good. I like the vibe. I think they definitely did go for, a lighter tone, which, but the movie itself was not a Superman movie. It was definitely a terrific backdoor pilot with Superman in it as a plot device. That was my opinion. But the movie itself, if you just, drop your expectations. It wasn't a bad movie. I can't say it was a bad movie. It just wasn't what I wanted from a Superman movie. But I digress. A lot of people still trying to get the Snyderverse back. I personally think that ship has sailed. But there are people out there that believe that if the Saudis get a hold of Warner Brothers, that they're going to bring back the Snyderverse. To me, that's a stretch given the age of everybody involved now. But, you know, this is coming from Cosmic Book News. Henry Cavill back as Superman, Ben Affleck, possibly Batman, Snyderverse updates. Okay, I got to see what's going on here. So this is coming from Matt McGloin, who does actually get it right. Sometimes. I mean, nobody gets it right 100% of the time. Right? But he has been right on some occasions. All right, so he has an update on the return of the Snyderverse. Okay. From his insiders. Before getting into it, here's the current situation. Variety reports that the Saudis are teaming with Paramount for a full Warner Brothers takeover. The Saudis want Zack Snyder back. They want the Snyderverse restored. If the Saudis back Paramount and win, Snyder wins. If they back Comcast and win, Snyder still wins. Either way, Snyder comes out ahead. Interesting. As I tweeted, the wild card is Trump, who has been reported to be backing Skydance Paramount. Yeah, because he's friends with the Ellisons, and if they shut down CNN, he would be thrilled. He would be grinning from ear to ear. He'd be gloating from ear to ear. He'd be like, I shut CNN. I helped oust people from CBS, and I shut down CNN. He would be over the freaking moon. Well, Trump has said to dislike Comcast CEO. My insiders point out that Comcast positioned itself for Warner Brothers' bid by creating a separate company to dump the networks Trump hates. Yes, MSNBC. So that issue may not stop anything. My insiders told me Zack knows exactly what's going on with Trump, and that's why Zack posted the Henry Cavill Superman image on Veterans Day. Interesting. So the White House just announced a massive deal worth $600 million with the Saudis. Yeah, we talked about that. Did he post something? He didn't say anything. He had Henry Cavill Superman on Veterans Day, and Clark Kent wasn't a veteran. So interesting. I missed that. If the Snyderverse comes back, that means the actors return to their roles. I'm told Henry Cavill's back as Superman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Jason Momoa will be back as Aquaman, Ray Fisher as Cyborg, Ezra Miller. Doubtful. Yeah, Ezra Miller's the weakest link. I mean, everybody else I thought was great, but Ezra Miller is just insane. So I can't see them bringing Ezra back. And frankly, he's not Barry Allen. I mean, he's just, Barry Allen died on his way back from saving the multiverse. He got lost in it'd be very easy to write him out, right? Because spoiler, for those of you who watched The Flash, I don't know if he came back to the actual DCEU because we had George Clooney Batman. So it's possible that version of the Flash just got lost in the multiverse somewhere. And that was the end. The end. The Flash is gone. Just bring back the kid that played him. Was it Grant Gustin? Played him in the show. Yeah, he was pretty good. Or just get a new Flash, just, hey, I'm a Flash from a multiverse. Or don't explain it at all. Just, hey, I'm Barry Allen and now I'm not crazy. That's all you got to do. The big unknown is Ben Affleck. Yeah, my insiders say Affleck possibly returns as Batman, but warns it's a lot of work physically. Yeah, I thought he was out. Oh, no, this is interesting. Zack Snyder is hanging with the Saudis. That's interesting. See, I didn't know all this because I'm going to be honest, I don't pay much attention at all to the Snyderverse. I will applaud the Snyder stance for getting the Snyder cut made. And I will 100% admit, even though I wasn't a huge Snyderverse fan, I will 100% admit that the Snyder cut was vastly superior to the theatrical cut because it actually made fucking sense. Like there's so many things in the theatrical cut of Justice League that didn't make any damn sense at all. But then it just seemed really cobbled together because it was. And then you watch the Snyder cut and I'm like, oh, everything actually makes sense now. Wow. Imagine that. So again, this is a rumor. So what happens next? The plan for Snyder is to finish the Snyderverse. Okay. Told the Saudi Warner Brothers deal has been in the works for some time. It's also the reason Zaslav passed on Paramount's earlier bids 3 times. Zack is close with the Saudis. They want his storyline back to rival Marvel in the upcoming Avengers films. Actually, at this point, Marvel's in such a decimated state that you probably could. I mean, if you actually did a really good Justice League movie and you had Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa, and it might actually do pretty good. And you brought Henry Cavill back like triumphantly, like it's the return of the Justice League, and you made it epic, you might actually be able to topple Marvel. I'm going to be honest here, because again, Marvel's in such a shit state right now that people aren't even excited about Doomsday. They're not excited about Secret Wars. Yeah, go for the jugular. After Snyder completes his arc, DC will reboot again under Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi. So what happens to James Gunn then? Okay, here we go. He's answering the question. Again, this is a rumor. I want to be very clear. For the low IQ morons in the back, this is a rumor. It's not my rumor. Okay? Like, people look at the thumbnail and they're like, oh my God, guys, it's wishful thinking, the alt-right shuts. No, it is a rumor. It's not my rumor. I'm just entertaining the rumor. Reporting on the rumor that I did not create. The fate of the DCU and James Gunn. Okay, regarding James Gunn and the DCU, I'm told that if Paramount and the Saudis are indeed teaming up, James Gunn's DCU is toast, and Gunn will be forced out due to Gunn's divisive politics. Gunn said nothing on Veterans Day. James Gunn, so the rumor is James Gunn is actually a lot more political than he's letting on. And you can kind of see that, I guess, in his stuff. But I do like James Gunn movies. And I do like his take on some characters. I thought The Suicide Squad, I thought was great. Peacemaker, I have not seen season 2. It looks like a shit show. But season 1 I thought was pretty okay. Maybe they could bring him into the fold and be like, hey, you can do a Lobo movie, not with Jason Momoa because he's Aquaman, but you can do a Lobo movie. I think he'd be perfect for Lobo, something like that. I think he'd be great. But I don't know. I've been told Gunn's Man of Tomorrow is just the original plans for Man of Steel 2 with Brainiac. I've been told that if Comcast ends up buying it, there's a real chance Gunn could actually team with Zack Snyder for the Snyderverse return. That would be interesting. Because, I mean, if you had those guys team up, you might actually get a good balance, because James Gunn is too jokey and Zack Snyder is too brooding. But if you got those two together, it'd be like a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Maybe the result would be a very balanced, DC universe. I don't know. Insiders say the one big idea being floated around is Gunn writing the Justice League 2 script with Chris Terrio already having a treatment, Snyder directing. It'd be full circle since Gunn and Snyder both got their start at Universal with Dawn of the Dead. I don't know, guys. I'd like to say this is just wishful thinking, but the Saudis, they're buying everything, and they have certain expectations, I guess, of these franchises. They want them to go back to what they were. There was this rumor 5 years ago or 4 years ago that they were going to buy Star Wars off of Disney. And it is possible that, I thought it was kind of crazy at the time, but given everything else they're buying, they might just come along to Disney one of these days and be like, hey, yeah, you ruined Star Wars. Here's, $2 billion. We'll take Star Wars off your hands and give it to somebody that actually gives a shit. You can do something with it. I have no idea. But, whatever happens, if the Saudis are involved, especially, things will absolutely change. And I don't know what happens. I think on the comic book side, things are going to change big time. Just a hunch I have, because it is not a viable business model. What they're doing is they're doing it for show. They're doing it because they're hoping they'll get some storylines they can turn into movies. They don't need the comic books anymore. They really don't. They go off script anyway, so what's the point, right? Just hire some of the best comic book writers out there to just come up with movie treatments, and then just reprint Watchmen from now until the end of time. It's already been paid for. That's kind of what I can see happening. I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.